1. I was very ill during 8th grade, in the US, so that's the last year of grade school before high school, and missed a few months completely and was only allowed to do half days for another month or so. Even though I was doing homework, I wasn't getting the in-person instruction, and I'm more of a visual and auditory learner. So needless to say, my grades weren't great, and therefore placement in high school was at a remedial level my freshman year. But they had figured out what was wrong with me, and the medication had worked. So I had no attendance issues and had nearly a 4.0 GPA. I was the only person from my grade school to go to this high school. The city line was literally our back fence. So I had to make friends with people who had gone to the same grade school their entire lives. I finally made a few friends. Most of them were in the marching band, even though I wasn't. Unbeknownst to me, this was also when this feud started. Another member of the band who was friends with some of my little circle was very invested in being in the top 10 of the class. And suddenly she was at 11, because I was in the top 10. I don't know why she had no issues with the other 9. I obviously knew I was in the top 10, actually with salutatorian at the end, but I ranked 4th because 3 people were valedictorians with perfect 4.0 GPAs. But had no idea this was bothering anyone except me. To get to the schools I wanted to apply to, I needed to be in the good classes, especially math. I have always and will always hate math, but sophomore year I had to take algebra and geometry to get caught up. I guarantee that year took several years off my life, and I'm amazed I didn't get gray hair, but I succeeded. It wasn't until junior year, when we were starting ACT prep classes, that one of my friends made an offhand comment to the effect of, "If you do well in the ACTs, then Krista will have to stop saying you cheated your way to the top." What now? Literally, the entire group I was sitting with, about 9 people, are just staring at me until someone finally said, "You know Crystal has been saying you took those easy classes freshman year to boost your GPA, right?" No. In fact, I did not. Everyone looked very uncomfortable. I was still trying to make sense of that when someone helpfully chimed in, "Yeah, she's been talking all summer about how when she gets a better ACT score than you, it will prove that you shouldn't be in the top 10. Okay, so does she think she gets to take my spot if she gets a higher score? To this day, I have no clue why this was so important to her. But eventually, the day came where we got our scores back, and she was telling the whole school about her 31, which is a very good score. She was extremely intelligent, which is why I was so baffled that this mattered to her. And I just said nothing, because I knew she would ask me in front of everyone, and while I thought the whole thing was ridiculous, I had a bit of a petty streak. So during lunch, she stood up at the end of our lunch table and basically yelled, "Clara, did you hear I got a 31? "Sure did. Congratulations." She just stood there a minute while I drank my soda. Then finally, "Well, I haven't heard from anyone what you got. Don't you want to share?" "I don't mind. I got a 32. It was like watching a balloon deflate. It was certainly not my proudest moment, but at the same time, if you're going to be in intense competition for something, you should maybe at least let your opponent know about it. 2. This is completely true, and the only reason I'm posting it is because it actually happened. I know it is insane, and many people will challenge it, but it happened, and if I made it up, it would have a better ending. It happened around 1989 in Alabama. I was about 19, and I had 2 good friends named Brian. I will call them Good Brian and Bad Brian. I was young and stupid and trusting, so when Bad Brian was getting married, he asked me to use my credit card to secure the hotel room. He promised me they would never charge it. I said okay, but was still suspicious, so I transposed some of the numbers and the expiration date, close enough where I could say it was an accident. He gets married and no issue. 2 years later, I bought a BB gun off a mail-order catalog, something like GGG's sales. They are not in business anymore, but then they used to sell Freon-powered BB guns. What arrives is the wrong item, and I call them and they don't have them in stock, but I can exchange it for anything else in their catalog. It turns out they were like 45 miles away, which was a neighboring state, Florida. I drive over there and I'm talking to them, looking at the other things they have, and while I'm standing there, a guy answers the phone and starts taking an order, and is saying the name while he's writing it down on the form. It is my name, but with an address much closer to Florida than I live. While he is writing down the credit card info, I walk in front of him and put my driver's license on top of the form. The employee is irritated because he does not realize what I am trying to show him and tries to continue with the order. I point to the name on the license and he stops. I know who it is trying to place an order using my card because I had only given my credit card info to one person. I motion to the man to hand me the phone, and after a little reluctance he does. I simply say, "Hi, Brian. What the hell are you doing?" I could almost hear his mind explode as he recognized my voice. I mean, here it was, 2 years later, he decides to use my credit card and I'm in another state in that store at the same time, picking up the phone. Boom. I tell him I'm going to stop by his house. His new address was on the order form, and I want the original paper he wrote my info down on, and any copies he had. I stopped by and he handed them to me, and it was everything I could do to keep myself from getting physical. The whole time he had a dazed look on his face like he did not understand how this happened. I never talked to him again, but have thought of how insane the coincidence was. I just happened to be in the same place at the same time he was using my credit card, and was close enough to hear him say my name. Crazy. I know the revenge is petty, but in my mind I left him with a supernatural fear of me, or at least that there is someone always watching. Because criminals are a cowardly and superstitious lot. 2. I'm driving home today on a side street. I'm tootling along going the speed limit when a guy suddenly pulls in front of me from a parking space at the curb. Slow enough and recklessly enough where I almost hit him. He had no turn signal on. He seems lost, so I slow way down. He then proceeds in front of me very, very slowly, blocking the flow of traffic, weaving back and forth. He then starts to turn right, so I slow even more. Then he very abruptly veers in front of me wildly to the left, cutting me off completely. So I slam on my brakes and honk my horn once to warn him. This idiot stops his car literally sideways in the middle of the street, blocking me, blocking traffic in both directions. He then rolls down his window, starts flipping me off, and commences to scream at me. I just sit there in my car, wondering if he's lost his mind. He then opens his car door, still screaming at me, still flipping me off, gets out of his car and starts threatening me with beating me up. I'm a small woman. I calmly pick up my phone, do not roll down my window, my car doors are locked, and I simply and very obviously start recording him. He continues to march up to my car, yelling at me. The minute he sees me recording him on my cell phone, he abruptly stops screaming. All at once he becomes as meek as a mouse and very politely and somewhat bizarrely attempts to explain himself. My window is still up, I am still recording him. When I do not stop recording or put the phone down, do not react to him and do not say a word, he then turns on his heel, runs to his car and drives off in the opposite direction like a bat out of hell. Funny how the threat of making an idiot go viral, possibly lose his job and expose him to the world for what he really is, possibly a drunk dickweed, almost immediately altered what could have been a police report and an assault into a frightened rabbit turning tail and running away terrified. Not sure if this is revenge, but it is definitely pretty petty all the way around. Update. I went in today to file a report. Unfortunately, although you can clearly see him and his car in the video, you can't see his license plate. I only started filming when he started to get out of his car. As I noted, the car was stopped sideways, about 10 feet ahead of me, perpendicular to mine, blocking me in. When he took off in the opposite direction from the direction I was facing. Not that I had any plans to chase him down. The police apologized and said there wasn't much they could do, as other than yelling, he didn't physically do anything to me or my car. But at least there's a record of his face in car should he pull this crap again. And no, I'm not posting the video up. The police assured me that posting the video might bring me more attention and trouble than I would want to deal with. And I'm normally a very private person. Sorry for the anticlimax, but hoping after this he might think twice before leaping out of his car and threatening to assault someone over his own stupid driving. Update 2. Well, not really an update, but I am both fascinated and taken aback by the viciousness of some people on Reddit wanting to ruin this guy's life by me posting the video. I'm not posting the video, full stop. Why are people so damn mean? I'm old, probably old enough to be your mother, or in some cases your grandmother. The idiot who pulled this stunt acted like a full-on idiot. He was going to threaten and at least frighten the older woman. And then he saw the camera and realized what a moron he was. That's enough. He didn't do anything for me to ruin his life over. Seeing the car he was driving, his face, his clothes, even his hair and how he behaved, his life pretty much completely sucks as it is now. At some point or another, we all do stupid things, say stupid things, and act like fools, all of us. Even though it was me who was the victim here, I don't carry that much anger. Mostly, I got a good laugh over his horrified face at the moment he realized he was on camera. That he then came to not just a screeching halt with his stupid behavior, but was then trying to very desperately reverse his stupidity. He knew in that moment exactly how stupid he was being. He's probably searching all over the internet right now, hoping he doesn't see his face. He won't. That's enough for me. It's a lesson hard learned for him. This one instance is not enough to ruin a life despite an almost full-braying mob. The internet version of pitchforks and torches bring out the monster. Me terrifying this guy with a camera is petty revenge. Me purposely ruining his entire life over one dumb moment where no one was hurt and nothing was damaged? I'm not that person. Neither should you be. Hellfreezer's note. Well done. You don't often find sense on the internet. Sadly, all too often, people are willing to completely decimate someone's life over less than even that. Because they're fixated on that moment of adrenaline of, let's find them, let's get them. Contact their boss, their partner, anyone who could ruin their life and make the situation worse. All because of, perhaps, one moment, maybe even the only moment, of weakness or stupidity in a person's life. It's happened before, and all too often. Let's say that the OP of the story did post that video. Who's to say the guy they'd go after and the life they had ruined would be the right person? It could be a similar-looking guy driving a similar car. It's happened before. There was a situation a few years back now. There was a guy, he was a cyclist, and he was harassing some kids. And the internet was, right, he's harassing kids, let's get him and ruin his life. And they found the guy. They contacted his university. And it was the wrong guy. They eventually found out who it was. But this other person had been completely harassed because of it, and he was innocent in that situation. The only commonality was they looked kind of sort of alike, although I'd argue they didn't look that much alike. But they also happened to cycle along the same path. Generally, I think you'll find that the internet mob does far more harm than good. 4. I got moved to a new store as part of a promotion years ago, and I was already pretty nervous. New store, first time as a department manager, and unfortunately for me, the former department manager had really crapped the bed in every way possible. The store manager, Marlene, immediately started micromanaging me. She had me on scheduled breaks and just rode me for everything in some weird, well, your predecessor was always sneaking off for cigarettes, so I'm sure you are too nonsense. I had to find her and tell her I was going on break. It's still one of the most frustrating things I've ever had a manager do to me. A couple of months into me being at the store, I found out that my grandma was being taken off life support that afternoon. I was gutted, and luckily my assistant was there. We usually worked alone. So she comforted me, and we worked at the schedule so I could go to the funeral. I went to find my manager to ask her about our bereavement leave, knocked on her door and leaned in. "Excuse me, Marlene." "I am on the phone." "Sorry." I found one of the assistant managers who helped me enter it on the scheduling software. and decided I needed to go for a break to go cry somewhere. Marlene saw me and yelled at me to get into her office. As soon as I got in there, she started yelling at me for interrupting her earlier. I apologized again and said since she had her back to the door, I didn't see the phone. Well, what was so important? I can't really put into words the level of contempt this woman was able to load into a single word. They took my grandmother off life support today, and I just wanted to ask about the bereavement leave. I asked the assistant about it. It's all taken care of. You can't just barge into the office, you know. I would have said yes if you'd knocked first and waited. Work on your presentation next time. It's probably been 5 years, but I swear to God, I'm still stunned at that line when I think about it. She yelled at me for a bit longer before snapping, "I'm sorry about your grandma." I managed to make it out of her office before I started crying. A few weeks after the funeral, our district manager was touring the stores and asked me how I was liking it at the new store. I cheerfully asked him if I could speak to him in my back office. He agreed, and Marlene started to walk with us. I looked her dead in the eye and cheerfully said, "No, just him." Once we were in the back room, he asked what was going on, and I started crying as I told him. There were some real tears. My grandma was awesome, and I still miss her. Goddamn, I was retching up every bad thing that had happened to me. My first girlfriend breaking my heart, my cat dying when I was 12, my parents' divorce, all just to bolster my performance. Men can't handle women crying. I saw this grown man panic. I relayed the story exactly as it happened, down to the work on your presentation. His jaw hit the floor at that one. He told me he'd take care of it, and as I followed him out of the office, Marlene looked like she was about to puke. I don't remember how long they were in her office for, but it wasn't a quick meeting, and she came over to give me a very begrudging apology, with all the sincerity of a petulant child being forced to apologize by their parent. This woman is a legend in the company. She retired a few years ago, and even at different stores, people heard how evil she was. It might be a small victory, but I'll take the win. 5. So this happened years ago, we're talking early 2000s, in South Africa. I was in grade 8 and was very good at English and was always my English teacher's favorite. My 7th grade teacher did, however, pull me aside after class once and told me that I was extremely smart but lazy, and he wanted me to work on the laziness, as he knew I would do great if I just put some work into my studies. I have sensory processing disorder and can easily get distracted, and also, yes, I am a lazy person. Kind of why I am great at my job as a consultant in finding more accurate and faster ways to increase productivity of my clients. Working smarter, not harder. Anyway, getting back to the story. See, SPD is kicking in already. So when I got to high school, English was the least of my worries. I spent a lot of time on math and other subjects as I really struggled with math, and would skip easy work, things I already knew, to focus on things I didn't understand. The kind of English we were taught in grade 8 was, to me, supposed to be taught in grade 2. Like seriously, going TWO for 2. School. Choose the correct words in brackets. My teacher would make me stand up in front of the class every day for not doing my homework, and proceed to tell me how stupid I am for not caring about my future by not doing my homework and blah 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 every day. Our June exams were coming up, and she went on a rant again about how stupid I am, and said there's no need for me to even try studying for the exam since it will all go over my head anyway. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. I actually started to believe it. So when June exams came, I complied and just didn't study, and wrote the exam unprepared. I really just couldn't care anymore. And then came the winter holidays. We have summer Christmases. When the winter holidays came to an end and my English class started again, I barely had any chance to take my seat when I heard the all-too-familiar, "OP, stand up." I immediately asked my classmates whether we had any homework, but they kept quiet. My teacher held up a piece of paper and asked me angrily, "How did you do this?" "What, ma'am?" I asked. "How did you get 90% on your exam paper?" I shrugged and said, "I don't know, ma'am. I am stupid." She kicked me out of her class, and I got a wonderful teacher who actually referred to me as either a walking dictionary or a walking encyclopedia, as I would often answer questions when kids asked what something was that we were reading about, and the teacher couldn't answer, or I would proofread and fix all of my classmates' essays before I even wrote mine. When I matriculated, I got a distinction in English, and my little brother found himself in that first teacher's class. When she saw his surname, it sounded familiar to her, and she asked whether he had a sibling. My brother said, "Yes," and she got a distinction in English when she matriculated. The teacher told him, "Follow in my footsteps." But in the end, my mom was working as an admin at a physio, and that teacher was there. My mom saw the surname and confronted the teacher, and she felt so terrible, she asked me for forgiveness. There was a kid in her class that she also kept picking on, and after she heard my story, she actually started to get to know the kid a bit better, and found out that he was only acting out because he was being abused at home. She changed her whole attitude because she saw the consequences of her actions, and I was able to completely forgive her. But I just had to share it here, as I think it was hilarious. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 368. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, hit the like button and share the video with friends and family. If you'd like to help support the channel, and help me do this for as long as I can, and as a thank you, get early access to the videos all at once on a Monday, you can support me on my Patreon page, which is linked for you in the description. Do that for as little as $1 or more a month. You'll also find links there to the Hellfreezer Discord server, as well as my merchandise store, which is located on Teespring. And if you really enjoyed today's video and you'd like to leave a more one-off tip, you can do that by clicking on the heart with a $sign underneath the video player. And while that is never required, I am very grateful, and I'm never going to say no to people giving me money. Okay, I don't think we have any other business today, so let's move along to Hellfreezer's question and answer of the day. And today's question is... And this one comes from Shigar via the Discord. What is your favorite snow cone flavor? Well, I am old, and it's been a while since I've had a snow cone. I do still have ice lollies, though, but snow cones, I don't even know anywhere that would sell them. I guess it's kind of like a slush puppy, which I've not had for a while either. I used to make them for people in a store I used to work, the evil store that we do not speak of, and I got very, very good at making them. I was actually able to make them striped, because if you got it at the right consistency, you could layer everything, and it was always really cool. It was like the one fun part, literally the one fun part of my job. Whenever the young kids would come in and be like, "Oh, can I have, like, what kind do you want?" And they'd be like, "Oh, crap! I wasn't expecting to make a decision." There's only 2 flavors. I said, "Would you like half and half?" They go, yeah, that'd be fine. Thank goodness. The store man stopped me from making the decision. So I'd then just go and I'd layer it for them, I'd hand it over, and their eyes would light up when you'd hand it over to them. And I got very good at doing that over the years. But as for favourite flavours, well, I'd probably go with the usual, lime, lemon. My favourite ice lolly is a bubblegum one, which, again, it's one of those things most stores have a variant of it, of some kind or another. I seem to recall they used to be in packs of 5, but they're only in packs of 4 these days. It was a couple of years ago I bought them. I did pick up a pack when the weather started getting warm recently, and yeah. You know what? Yeah, so I'll say anything fruity, really, and I'd be happy with a snow cone. Let me know what your answers are in a comment below. I think I've yammered on enough, so before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Revenge is Ice Cream 365, and was your favourite, most versatile kind of food. And today's answer comes from Jenna Gets Creative. Chopped or minced onions, mushrooms, and green onions, or chives or similar, is a great base for cooking so many things. It goes in a stir-fry, on noodles and pasta, in soups, in taco meat, or on the taco, in an omelette, on pizza. So many possibilities. Thank you very much for your answer, Jenna Gets Creative. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.